art, with design, with fashion, with architecture, and with music. And I think that's where we are right now, the melting point of what is interesting in development. So when we met in Milan, we started talking about what if we made a collection that was kind of directed towards the millennials and their needs and dreams for stuff to make a first home.
Yeah.
You agree?
Exactly. We met and immediately started talking about art and design and a possibility. I think it was supposed to just literally meet.
Yeah.
And we toured around in Milan during the design fair, what was built, and just started already trying to figure out what narrow space was left to sort of interject new ideas into design. And now we're here.
Yes.
I think we're sharing a microphone. And can you tell me about your personal story with IKEA? Is this, a childhood memory? How, coming from America, is it a different relation to the brand?
For me, my first IKEA purchase was a lac table in college. And
Me too.
And, in hindsight, I didn't really think of it at the time. It's a very empowering experience to buy something that I had a final touch in living with. So assembling a table for the first time makes everyone a furniture designer in a way, and it's literally that is to me an important part of IKEA, the brand.
And what is the result today? Can you tell me about the thinking behind the designs we're seeing here?
Well, I think it's we decided to do a pre-launch of these rugs because we had been working on them, and Virgil's take on doing a rug is quite different than what we normally see, because I would say you almost treat it like a ready-made, and then you add your own personal signature. Can
To
you
start. Yeah.
develop that?
Well, a lot of my design ethos is like, why does the world need one more rug? And does design need more design?
Yeah.
In the 2000s and now, I think there's been this like epiphany of beautiful design lines. Now the market is just saturated with more and more designs that look beautiful. No credit away from that, but I sort of wanted to not even go down that road and sort of find another route to sort of make a unique connection between an inanimate object. And that's where I started applying sort of art principles instead of design principles to design. And I think this exhibit that's beautifully curated just on the other side of the wall kind of nudges towards that expression that is a rug before you start designing a new rug just for design's sake.
But it's also a little bit like that you have a functional rug, which creates comfort and whatever in your home, but at the same time you connect to it mentally because it makes you reflect.
Yeah, and it makes every visitor to your home sort of stop and say, wow, that's interesting. So it's something that can continually give you sort of feedback, and it's it's an inanimate object.
And what do you think your background, also in music and in avant-garde fashion and luxury, and what all these fields have brought to this collaboration today?
I'm born in 1980, so the 90s, not only just design has, like say music for example, hip hop. It's a music genre made of ready-made parts. You take a sample from soul or jazz or funk, you just take a piece of it and loop it, and it birthed a whole new genre of music, which is the music that kids grow up on today. In that same time, Marcel Duchamp decides that a urinal is a fountain and is proven right by his premise. So, in a way, I removed myself from trying to think of being new. This sort of like step to like, let me create some energy from nothing, and I decided just to reflect what my generation was sort of seeking. And then, we're at a party, debuting 4 rugs means that we're on the right path, sort of like breaking some new space within design, I would think.
But I also think somehow it's interesting the way that you actually can draw new energy into a quite obscure phenomenon like Marcel Duchamp and the Dadaists, who were considered more or less crazy at the heydays, and bring that whole energy and anarchistic attitude they had,
Yeah.
or he had, and in today, and also creating a kind of the meeting between two time periods, which I think there's a beauty in it, because we tend to think that we live in a world where history is over.
History's the boring class.
Exactly, and
in
history
school.
is very much alive in your world.
Yeah, it's important to know, and this is only by learning, that art, like the ideas that you individually have today, don't think about them like Instagram. Like, let me post it and get a lot of likes now. Add 30 years to a radical idea now, and it might be the norm, and it might be the canon that someone adds ideas to. And I think that's the importance of art history that we're calling upon for this collection. Things that were radical describe our world today, and those were the thinkers that were pushing the boundaries of the time. So it's, hopefully you can buy furniture, you can buy rugs, but I want people, even if they reject these ideas and say that this isn't valid, that's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to challenge. It's supposed to say to some kid, this is not even design. Like, I'm going to go out tomorrow and show what a real rug is, and that's the sort of longevity of the trajectory that I'm, in my position, trying to sort of make commonplace, not in the design world, the real world.
So what you're saying is, you actually saying the next generation come and challenge me back.
Yeah, it's like that's how evolution in idea and design works. You had Corbusier, and you had Mies van der Rohe, creating works, and someone proposing, Gaudi at the same time. They all saw each other's work. They were all at the forefront, and the culmination nudges every design field forward.
And what did you find was the most exciting about working together, about each other's vision?
Well, I mean, first of all, he's a very fun guy to be around, and he's very smart, and he's extremely creative. And I think I think one thing that I really valued about our collaboration is that you, as a person, both as a designer and artist, but also as a private person, has a big concern, and put your heart into that. Young people today growing up, creating your first home. It's not a walk in the park. It's not a bed of roses. It can be tough, and it's if you don't have a lot of money and you want fantastic, unique design, there's not a lot around.
Yeah, exactly. And I work a lot in fashion or sneakers or those things, but entering the sacred realm that Henrik works in, it becomes a very different scale, because these are things that people live with. It's incredibly hard to make one object that would go in all of your homes. It's 10 times easier to make one T-shirt that could fit in all of your closets, because you could just make it white. There's some norms in fashion, or there's some norms in a sneaker that everyone can adopt to, but placing an object inside your living space, it takes a whole different economy of thinking.
Absolutely.
And what would you say is the red thread between all your collaborations at IKEA? Is it the values that an individual might have? Is it, someone being an individual?
I think it's, for us who work at IKEA, we are curious by nature. And I think for all of us, it's about, I am interested in persons who have a purpose with what they do, who have a strong aesthetical signature, who also has a kind of a message, a strong value-driven message behind what they do. Because I think there is enough stuff in the world already. As Virgil said, who needs another chair? You could argue, but finding a person like Virgil and the other who actually can bring something new, energy, something inspiring, and that will open people's eyes, I think that's what we look for. And that can be within any field. It can be what Virgil represents, but it can also be like another thing we're working on. How can we create design for disability?
Yeah.
And does this have a grand message about society today, about the way people consume culture or design?
I think, that's why I applaud IKEA and Henrik for approaching me. It's easy for a company that's that big to say, we have enough product SKUs to do, we have enough ideas. we don't need to open up the door a little bit. And, you know, all of our design sessions weren't a bed of roses either. We were challenging each other, and that, I think, made us confident in like a better offering. You know, design isn't just about like sketching on a piece of paper and putting it at this level, not just putting it out in the world because you feel like it. So the concept is more rigorous because of that. And I think, you know, a lot of my work is reactionary. So this whole Instagram or communal thinking or communal liking and disliking and the millennial sort of spirit that, hey, the world's brand new, there's no art history, I don't need to go to school mentality. I'm reacting against that by putting things in there that are made up of my schooling or my analyzation of culture, millennial. And
I mean, it's a little bit like, I think we as a company have a responsibility, and you as a designer have a responsibility to do things that make people reflect.
Yeah, stop before you purchase. You know, you don't call people. You don't call them consumers.
It's a little bit like going the reverse way. We talked about. You remember Barbara Kruger saying, "I shop, therefore I am." It's a little bit like what you're saying. I think, going back to saying, "I think, therefore I am." Think and then act.
Exactly. It's not just about going backwards and sort of art principles that other artists made. It's the logic that always inspired me. Cool.
I think we have time for a few questions. Est-ce qu'il y a des questions? Questions?
2 questions. Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Come on, guys.
Okay.
You have been breaking down barriers for a lot of people, in fashion and in design. What was the biggest barrier that you overcame within your career?
I think there's only one barrier that I overcame was first thinking that, you know, I used to believe that I couldn't do it. You know, I used to believe I couldn't design because I didn't see designers that I related to or looked like me or was like outward facing towards me instead of facing their community. So once I made that commitment to like doing the idea, not sitting around a bar with friends talking about what I wanted to do one day, I just got a laptop, downloaded Adobe, made a sketch, found someone to make it or printed it. And then all of a sudden I started getting this feedback based on something I made instead of sitting around thinking that, you know, I wish I made something that looked like that.
One last question.
So how long have you been in design, and are we got to expect something new from you and Ikea?
Yeah, the pieces that you see here might be about 50%. You know, there's rugs, or maybe like 30%.
30%.
You can see here if you haven't already. You know, it's a long process to make things that can get distributed around the world at an affordable price. So within the design process, we're maybe, you know, like an order of a year out from the full collection, but there's going to be a full range of items that can be designed with the same ethos that we see here.
I think it's a little bit like that we try to design the essentials for creating your first home. So that means there will be, I mean, what the basic needs, you have a bed, table, but done with Virgil's unique twist and signature to it.
Cool.
Hi, Melissa from TV5 World. So we saw that Ikea did a lot of collaboration with Balenciaga and other brands. Can we expect collaboration between Off-White or even Louis Vuitton and Ikea in the future?
Well, I would never. First of all, I don't want to predict about the future right now. I mean, we have a lot of projects going. I think we need to. I think for now we launched this, and sorry. I would say that we like to think that the people we work with Ikea is a long-term relationship. So let's see what the future brings.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
DJ, go DJ.
Zagadat.
Zagaza.
Same time body 10-10.
Perform now.
It's your boy.
It's Pete Kelly.
My baby they confuse me yo with that bomb bomb. But she get the guy where they send her money from London. She they see me like a Johnny just come. Yeah. My monkey they walk it, baboon he just the chop. Me I go chop all the washing, as long as you give me my passion. Baby make you know they rush me, I beg you make you treat me with caution. Leg over, my baby give me leg over. Hangover, baby she dey give me hangover.